Here's a recap of the NFL Week 16. As after this week, we only have 2 more weeks until the playoffs, as we start to see our contenders and teams that have locked up a playoff spot. We start with the Raiders and the Seahawks. Came down to the wire on Thursday night. A last-second field goal with Seattle winning, and that knocks the Raiders out of contention to make the playoffs. Derek Carr, 276 yards through the air, 3 TDs. Josh Jacobs had a rushing and receiving touchdown. Geno Smith nearly threw for 300 yards, 4 TDs, and it was a great game. DK Metcalf had a good game. Noah Fant had a touchdown in this game, and Kenneth Walker also did very good as Seattle goes to 8-7. How about a showdown in Philly? 2 rivals, the Eagles best the Cowboys this time, 31-27. A good win by the Eagles, who improved to 13-2. Jalen Hurts threw for 265, 4 TDs through the air. A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert had big games. Dak Prescott threw for 358. CeeDee Lamb had a monster game. Michael Gallup had 2 of those touchdowns, but a Lamb with 143 yards receiving and a touchdown. Then you have the Bills, who beat the Dolphins 23-16. It was 5 degrees in Buffalo. I mean, it was freezing, but they best the Dolphins. They beat them by 7. Tua, 183 yards and a pick. Tyreek Hill had 68 receiving yards. Josh Allen had a good day, 227 through the air, a TD, but a pick. Had 59 rushing yards and a touchdown. Gabe Davis had 5 receptions for 81 yards and a touchdown. Buffalo 12-3 on top of the division. Dolphins slipped to 10-5. And then another rivalry game, the Steelers beat the Ravens 23-17. It was a very close game. The Steelers got off rocking, but the Ravens slowly came back. Lamar, 225, 2 TDs, but 2 picks. That was the big difference. Turnovers. The Ravens had 3 of them. Steelers had just 1. Kenny Pickett, 223, a TD and a pick. Harris had a good day. And then look at the 3 receivers, Johnson, Pickens, and Freiermuth, all going off today as the Steelers go to 8-7. The Jets beat the Falcons 20-10 in a very interesting game for Marcus Mariota for the Falcons. He had a terrible game. Desmond Ridder came in, and now there are talks that Ridder will start next week against Tampa Bay to keep the Falcons' playoff chances alive. The Jets are eliminated from the playoffs anyway, thanks to a win by the Chargers, which we'll get to in a minute. Zach Wilson had a good day. Of course, the Falcons did not. Just 10 points, and Desmond Ridder got his first career NFL touchdown. The Vikings beat the Buccaneers 27-20, and it keeps the Falcons and the Saints both alive to win the division. As Kirk Cousins threw for 229, 2 TDs, 2 picks, had a rough first half. Hawkinson with a good game. Tom Brady, he's been doing very good lately. Just they can't finish the deals. They slipped to 7-8, and they'll have to beat Atlanta to pretty much secure the division, and the Saints will have to continue losing if the Bucs want to stay on top of the NFC South. The Bengals, they beat the Giants 24-6 in MetLife, which the Giants now, they're in trouble. They've got to fight back if they want to have a chance at a playoff spot. Burrow, 21 for 35, 227, 2 TDs, had a pick. Daniel Jones in the offense, they were stalled, 182 for him. Slayton, 72 yards receiving. Jamar Chase, 6 receptions, 91 yards and a TD. Joe Mixon also had a touchdown for the Bengals, who jumped to 11-4. Giants slipped to 7-8. Wild one in the Music City. Jacksonville wins at 23-22 on a last-second field goal as the Titans decided to go for 2 to try and make it a 3-point game, but they missed it, so all the Jags had to do was kick a field goal to win the game. That's what they did. As 256 from Lawrence had 2 TDs and an interception. Evan Engram had a good day. Same with ETN, who's been one of the best running backs in the league, along with Derrick Henry, who had over 120 yards rushing and a TD. Nick Westbrook-Akine had a touchdown for the Titans. The Browns, they win by 3 in their first win with Deshaun Watson as a starter, 21-18, as the Patriots try to come back, but they come up just short. And talks of them starting Mac Jones to see if he's really the guy. Next week, Deshaun Watson, 212 and a TD. Nick Chubb had a touchdown as well. Cooper with the touchdown, and then Denzel Ward had a pick 6 off Bailey Zappi. He threw for 2 picks in this game. Nelson Aguilar had 101 yards receiving. Patriots fall to 5-10. The Browns jump to 5-10. America's Game of the Week on CBS this week, a Battle of Los Angeles. The Chargers win 24-10 against the Rams, and that eliminates the Jets from playoff contention. Stafford had more incompletions than completions in this game. He played awful. Chargers defense had a great game. Justin Herbert had a TD and a pick. Austin Eckler had 2 touchdowns as he ran all over that Rams defense. And the Chargers go to 8-6-1. Like I said, eliminate the Jets from AFC playoff contention. The Lions, they beat the Cardinals 28-14 in a game which they absolutely dominated. But no turnovers, though. That defense could not force a turnover in this game. Goff threw for 3 TDs. Sorry, had a moment there. Jamal Williams had a rushing TD as well with the 4 touchdowns. Kyler Murray threw for a TD. He also ran for a TD. He did most of the offensive work today as DeAndre Hopkins had 115 receiving yards. Lions are 7-7-1 on the season. The Commanders, though eliminated from the playoff contention, beat the Texans 38-21 in a pretty crazy game. 5 turnovers in this game. 3 of them by Heineke, who threw for 3 picks. The defense, though, for the Commanders, they came home with a pick 6 in this game. McNichols had a rushing touchdown. Curtis Samuel, best game as a Commander. Davis Mills getting the nod to start this game after Case Keenum didn't do too much, but he continued to turn the ball over. Commanders jumped to 6-9. Sunday Night Football, the Packers beat the Bears 24-12 at a closer game than they would have liked. At Chicago, they start the rough final 3 games of their season. Green Bay, Minnesota, Green Bay. Rodgers, 3 TDs through the air. Justin Fields threw for a pick and ran for a TD on the night. As Chicago currently has the number 1 overall draft pick, the Packers at 9-6 can lock up a playoff spot with a win against the Chargers next week to get them back in the postseason after having a bad start to the season. They've won 4 in a row since. The Niners beat up the Colts on Monday Night Football 35-3, and they even turned the ball over once. Purdy threw a pick, but he also threw for 5 TDs, 2 of them to Ayuk, who's been his favorite target. And then for the Colts, Sam Ehlinger got pulled out in the 4th quarter. Nick Foles came in through for 81, didn't really do too much either, but it looks like Nick Foles will probably get the start next week for Indianapolis as they play Dallas. 49ers, they've clinched the division. And then we go to the Christmas Eve games on a Tuesday, doubleheader Tuesday. The Panthers beat the Saints 31-17. So now the Saints are 1 game back of the Bucs, and they need the Falcons to win for them to take the lead in the division if they were to beat Tennessee. Dalton throws for 400 yards again, but he threw for 4 picks this time. That was awful. But Sam Darnold, he didn't have the flashiest game, but he still had a great game. Chuba Hubbard did good, and A.J. Boye had a pick 6 for Carolina. And then the final game in Mile High on Christmas Eve, where the Chiefs beat the Broncos 38-31. Good win for Kansas City. They can lock up the 1 seat with a Buffalo Bills loss and a win next week. Mahomes did good, 278, 2 TDs, also threw a pick. Russell Wilson, 336, 3 TDs, 2 picks. As McManus, on a trick play, had a rushing touchdown for the Broncos. Travis Kelce, of course, having a big game with 2 TDs, along with Isaiah Pacheco having 2 TDs. Here's standings. Chiefs 13-2, Bills at 12-3. They have both clinched their divisions. Cincinnati with the tiebreaker over Baltimore at 11-4, and then Jacksonville the tiebreaker over Tennessee. Those 2 divisions are going to come down to the wire. Baltimore 11-4, Dolphins 10-5, Chargers 8-6-1. Teams still alive for a wild card are the Steelers and the Titans to make it into the wild card. In the NFC, you have the Philadelphia Eagles at 13-2, 49ers at 11-4. Vikings can clinch the division with a win on Thursday against Chicago. Buccaneers can clinch the division with a win and a Saints loss. Cowboys have a playoff spot. Packers can clinch a playoff spot next week. Seahawks 8-7. And then the Lions, Giants, Saints, Falcons, Commanders alive for a wild card in the NFC. This is ASC signing off.